A question that I'm seeing a lot on the interwebs lately, and sometimes even in my own comment sections, is the following. How long does it take for a person who's walking over 20,000 steps a day, or about 20,000, maybe even less than that, how long does it take for that person to finally achieve six-pack abs? Or if you're a woman, how long does it take for a female walking over 20,000 steps to finally get a flat toned stomach? So in this video, I'm going to break down the exact realistic time frame for when you can finally achieve a flat toned, or in the case of a guy, six-pack abs. So let's talk about what is the non-negotiable prerequisite in order for you to eventually attain six-pack abs or a flat toned stomach. And that's going to be the king of fat loss itself, which is a calorie deficit. However, you're going to need to create a calorie deficit in two ways. Number one, you need to create a calorie deficit through your meals alone, through your daily nutrition. Everything that you eat on a daily basis, it has to be in a calorie deficit, aka below your maintenance calories. Number two, you're going to need to create a calorie deficit through your activity level, aka through your daily walking. So if you're already walking 20,000 steps a day, congratulations, you're already in a calorie deficit. You should be on average in a calorie deficit of about 500 daily calories every single day. So in order for you to create a calorie deficit through your meals, you need to first calculate your maintenance calories, which you can get from a free calorie calculator online just by Googling it, or you can use AI prompt number 1 in the description below to get your maintenance calories calculated. All it's going to require you to do is basically enter your age, weight, height, gender, and a general description of your current activity level, how much you exercise, how much you move per day, what type of lifestyle you have, and that's going to give you your maintenance calories. Ignore everything else that it spits out. All you want from that AI prompt number 1 is your maintenance calories, and simply subtract 500 from that. That's going to be the amount you're going to be eating throughout your entire calorie deficit. Okay? Once you get that, and you're already walking 20,000 steps, or maybe you haven't even walked a lot, or you're not experienced enough to be walking 20,000 steps, maybe you're at the start of your daily walking journey. So in that case, use AI prompt number 2 to figure out the optimal number of steps you should be walking every single day in order to achieve another 500 daily calorie deficit, but this time through daily walking. That way you should get about 1,000 daily calorie deficit through a combination of daily walking and your meals. Okay? Once you have that down, let's move on to step number 2. And step number 2 will be to calculate your body fat percentage. Let me make sure I cross the street without getting hit. So your body fat percentage, you can actually get that in one of 3 ways. The gold standard for calculating your exact body fat percentage is going to be a DEXA scan. Now a DEXA scan can be pretty expensive depending on the facility where you actually do the exam. I remember last time I did my DEXA scan a year or over a year and a half ago, it cost me about $200. So not advisable to always rely on getting a DEXA scan to get an estimate of your body fat percentage. So in that case, you could go for option number 2, which is what I use on a daily basis, which is known as a smart body fat scale. The problem with a smart body fat scale, whether you go with the Renpho or the Fit Index smart body fat scale, is that they are pretty inaccurate. They use what is known as bioelectrical impedance, which essentially just passes a pretty weak electrical current down your legs. So it's essentially calculating a body fat percentage, which is mostly dependent on the composition, water composition, muscle fat, etc., in your legs as opposed to the rest of your body. So if you're storing, or you're likely to store more fat in your upper body than your lower body, for example, most males will probably store more muscle, I should say, in their upper body as opposed to their lower body. It's going to underestimate their lean body mass and probably overestimate their body fat percentage, and vice versa. So in that case, the more accurate and cheaper alternative to calculating or getting a good estimate of your body fat percentage is going to be known as a 3-point body fat caliper method. So this is going to rely on you getting a body fat caliper, which you can get online from Amazon. I think you can even get it from Walmart and Target if you're in the United States. But it's going to essentially allow you to take 3 measurements on your body. And all 3 measurements have to be conducted or taken from the right side of your body. So you want to take, it's going to be essentially passing a caliper over a fold of skin, right? You're going to pinch some skin near your chest, near your belly button, and of course in your thigh. Again, all right-sided measurements. So the first measurement you're going to take is a diagonal fold of skin between your right armpit and right nipple. You're going to get that measurement using that same caliper in millimeters. Next, you're going to move down and you're going to take a vertical fold of skin 1 inch from your belly button. And that's going to be, once again, you're going to just grab that vertical fold of skin, click it in between the teeth of that caliper, and that's going to give you a belly fat measurement right there in millimeters. And then the third and last measurement that you're going to get with that same caliper is going to be another vertical fold of skin, only this time it'll be in your thigh. It'll be about in the middle of your thigh is ideally where you want to take it. Click it with the caliper, and then that should give you the 3rd millimeter measurement for fat, but this time coming from your thigh. You're going to take all 3 measurements, and I'm going to tell you the mathematical way to calculate this. You take all 3 measurements, add them together, and then that'll give you your sum, right? You're going to take that sum and you're going to input it into a formula known as the Jackson-Pollock equation. The Jackson-Pollock equation is going to give you your body density. And then that body density will be used by a second equation called the Seery equation in order to give you a near accurate estimate for your body fat percentage. So you can actually bypass all of that altogether. Just get your 3 measurements and get a body fat scale or a body fat chart. It's going to be usually a colored chart, which is going to give you all of those readings along the sides of the chart, right? Upper as well as the side of the chart. And then that'll give you an estimate for your body fat percentage. So if you get your chest reading, your abdominal reading, and your thigh reading, you can actually just match it up to that chart. And most calipers actually come with that chart. So you can actually just read the chart based off of your measurements, and that'll give you an estimate of your body fat percentage. Or, since we live in the age of AI, we can actually take all 3 measurements, feed them to our same AI, maybe the same AI that we use for our AI prompts, numbers 1 and 2, and we can ask it to give us our body fat percentage using both the Jackson-Pollock equation and the Seery equation. We don't have to actually remember those 2 equations. Just say, take these measurements and give me my body fat percentage using the Jackson-Pollock equation and the Seery equation. And that should give us, once again, the cheapest and most accurate reading for our body fat percentage. Now that we know our body fat percentage, we can take that and multiply it by our current weight. Your current weight, by the way, you should be tracking with just any bathroom scale out there. You don't have to have a smart body fat scale to calculate your weight. But I want you guys to get into the practice of weighing yourself first thing in the morning and looking, basically recording this weight in MyFitnessPal ideally, and then tracking your weekly average. So if you're in a calorie deficit, you want that weekly average to generally go down week after week after week. And yes, throughout your calorie deficit, you're going to face certain plateaus in that weight. So you're going to be faced with scenarios, unfortunately, where the weight is hardly ever going to budge. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly normal. That means you are on the right track during the course of your calorie deficit. But anyway, take your current weight, whatever it is today, and multiply it by that body fat percentage that you just got, which should be expressed as a decimal. So if you don't have it as a decimal, maybe it's like 14, 15%, take 14 or 15 divided by 100, and that should give you instead 0.14 or 0.15. And yes, I did warn you guys about some mathematics that would be involved in this video. So if you guys are a little queasy about math, maybe just use AI, and I'll give you some tips on how to use AI throughout this video. But anyway, by multiplying your current weight by your body fat percentage, this is going to give you the total weight of fat that you have in your body. So it's going to give you your total body fat in pounds. You take the total body fat that you have in pounds, and that's not going to be all the body fat that you're going to lose, right? We're going to use this total body fat to calculate our lean body mass, which is the total amount of weight that we have in absence of fat, which means that's our total weight due to muscle, bone, water, tissue, etc. So we're going to take our current weight and subtract this total fat mass that we have, and that will give us our lean body mass, or our LBM. And let me actually take a look at the time, because I actually have a delivery on the way from me from Costco. I don't want to miss it. I might be actually turning back around. Let me see. Okay, I got time. I got like 23 minutes. Perfect. So we get our lean body mass by subtracting the total fat mass from our current weight. And now we want to figure out what is going to be the body fat percentage for when we actually are able to see our six-pack abs. And on average, for a man, that's going to be at 10% body fat. And for a female, that's going to be anywhere between 15 to 17%. Let's just say a nice odd number that we can easily, process in our minds, 15. Let's go with 15%. So 15% for females and 10% for males will give us a flat-toned six-pack ab stomach. So with that information in mind, I want you to take your lean body mass that you just obtained in the previous step and divide it by 0.9 if you're a guy, and divide it by 0.85 if you're a female. This is going to give you your target weight. So this is a weight that we need to get to by the end of our calorie deficit. So if we start, for example, if I'm starting today at 138.4 and I'm at 13.7% body fat, I first took that body fat percentage and multiplied that by my current weight, which was 138, and I got like 19 something pounds of fat. But I'm not going to lose all of that fat, right? I'm going to use that fat to calculate my lean body mass. So I subtract that from my current weight and I get to about 119. That is going to be my lean body mass. So now I take that lean body mass, which ideally I want to preserve as much as possible throughout my calorie deficit. It's going to be difficult, which is why I need to ensure that I stay at a 500 daily calorie deficit through my meals, right? The only thing I'm going to alternate is going to be the calorie deficit through my daily walking. That I can actually increase. But the calorie deficit that I have due to my meals, due to my daily nutrition, I cannot touch that, because if I do, if I increase that calorie deficit, if I start slashing my calories too early and too often throughout my cut, then I'm unfortunately going to decrease this lean body mass. And that's going to result in me losing a lot more muscle and looking not as toned and not as flat in the abdominal area at the end, even if I reach 10% body fat. So let's keep the lean body mass the same, right? And I took that lean body mass and I divided it by 0.9. So for me, 119 is my lean body mass right now, divided by 0.9, and that's going to give you my target weight. So my target weight, I think it comes out to like 132.4 or something. So if I'm at 138 and I need to get to 132, all I have to do is, in order to calculate the amount of fat I need to lose throughout this deficit in order to get down to 10% body fat, I'm going to take my current weight and I'm going to take my target weight and subtract those two numbers. So in that case, in the case of my example, it's 138 minus 132, which is roughly 6. Or 138.4 minus 132.4 is 6 pounds. So I only need to lose 6 pounds of fat. Notice I have total of 19 pounds of fat distributed across my body. I don't want to lose all of that fat. I want to have some fat, obviously, on my body for essential temperature regulation, hormone synthesis, etc. So therefore, I only need to lose 6 pounds of fat in order to hit 10% body fat, and that is going to ensure and guarantee that I can see all of the rows of my rectus abdominal muscle and hence have 6-pack abs. And for a female, that will virtually guarantee that she have a flat, toned, very beautiful looking stomach. So, and by the way, for females that's 15%. So all you have to do is basically take your lean body mass and divide it by 0.15 or 0.85, sorry, to get your target weight. And then you take your target weight, subtract it from your current weight, and that'll tell you the exact number of pounds of fat that you have to lose throughout this calorie deficit. So now we know exactly how much fat we have to lose. How long is it going to take for us to lose this fat? Well, if you are at a 1,000 daily calorie deficit through your daily nutrition and through your daily walking, above 20,000 steps is going to virtually guarantee that everyone is in a 500 calorie deficit. Initially, you're going to lose about 2 pounds of weight per week, right? You're going to lose a lot of water in the beginning. You're going to lose some fat. You might even lose some muscle. But in all, you'll lose about 2 pounds of weight every single week. Eventually, that's going to come down. Most of that water is going to go away. That fat loss is going to start to decrease steadily over time. So maybe you were losing, out of that 2 pounds, it was like 1.5 pounds of fat. Every single week, the amount of fat that you lose in pounds is going to steadily decrease. So 1.5 the first week, 1.3 the second week, 1.2, 1, and then eventually you'll be hitting less than a pound of fat loss per week. I don't want you to get alarmed by that. Fat loss is going to be incredibly slow. But on average, if you stick to your daily nutritional calorie deficit, as well as sticking to 20,000 steps or more of walking every single day in order to ensure that 500 daily calorie deficit through daily walking alone, then you will lose on average 1 pound of fat every single week. If you lose a pound of fat every single week, and for example, you only have 6 pounds of fat to lose in order to hit 10% body fat, in the case of my example, then it'll take you 6 weeks to hit 10% body fat. So a pound of fat a week, you basically take the magnitude of how much weight that you have to lose of fat, and that's going to be give you the approximate number of weeks it's going to take you. So if you have 10 pounds of fat to lose, it's going to take you 10 weeks. If you have 20 pounds of fat to lose and at a rate of 1 pound of fat loss per week, it's going to take you 20 pounds or 20 weeks to lose that 20 pounds of fat. This is the best case scenario. Okay, this is if you're losing 1 pound of fat a week on average. Since fat loss is a slow, arduous process that requires a lot of patience, a lot of resolve, and a lot of discipline, aka you can't take any rest days from walking, number one. You can't skip going to the gym or your workouts at any point during the week. So if you're hitting 3 days a week doing weight training, you cannot skip any single day within that 3 days. right? You can't bump it down to 2 days. You can't bump it down to 1 day. It has to be 3 days. You start at 3, you stay at 3 throughout your calorie deficit. And of course, as I mentioned, no cheat meals, right? You can't be cheating on the weekends. You can't be introducing cheat meals during the week. So if you stay 100% disciplined throughout your week, then the best case scenario is going to take you basically the same amount. So the amount of weight that you have in fat to lose, that's how much it's going to take you to lose that weight. So in my case, 6 pounds of fat that I have to lose is going to take me 6 weeks to lose that. A pound of fat every single week. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, it's going to take double that. So if I have to lose 6 pounds of fat, instead of me losing about a pound of fat a week, maybe I'm only losing half of that a week. 0.5 pounds of fat on average per week. So instead of it taking me 6 weeks to lose that amount of fat, to get down to 10% body fat, it's going to instead take me double that, or 12 weeks. So in all, the realistic timeline for getting to and eventually reaching 10% body fat for a man or 15% body fat for a female to finally achieve 6-pack abs or a flat toned stomach is going to take anywhere from the time it takes you to lose a pound of fat a week to the time it takes you to lose half a pound of fat a week. So in my example, it'll take me 6 weeks to lose 6 pounds of fat a week if I'm losing a pound of fat a week, but it'll take me 12 weeks to lose half a pound of fat a week. So it's going to take me anywhere between 6 to 12 weeks, depending on how strictly I stick to my daily walking, to my daily nutrition with 100% clean meals, and of course, weightlifting at least 3 days a week. And by the way, once you reach 10% body fat if you're a guy, or 15% body fat if you're a female, you only have to do this one time. In order to maintain 6-pack abs year-round, you can now reverse diet. You basically now start eating at maintenance calories, so you bump up your daily calories through your meals by 500. So if you're eating at 2,000 calories every single day in order to get down to 10% body fat, now you have the freedom to increase that daily calorie amount by 500. So now you're going to be eating at 2,500 calories every single day, and that's going to allow you to stay at that body fat percentage, provided that you're once again lifting weights, progressively overloading in the gym, and also progressively overloading on your step count, right? So if you started your cut at 20% or at 20,000 steps in order to have that 500 daily calorie deficit, you will need to progressively overload on your step count, on your daily step count every single month. And what I typically recommend is 1,000 additional steps every single month. So 20,000 steps this month, 21,000 steps every single day next month, 22,000 the following month, etc. You want to progressively overload on your step count the exact same way you're going to progressively overload for life in the gym. And of course, that'll allow you to eat at the same maintenance calories without having to significantly increase those calories over time. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know where you guys are currently in your fat loss journey and daily walking journey. Subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe for more of these daily walk and talks. And until next time, just walk, baby.